Hey everybody, this is another mini-series of videos that I guess this is taking a more professional direction because I'm a sociology major, so this is like my main focus, I guess you could say. I'm basically studying the way technology influences culture and subsequently contributes to a paradigm shift. Or in other words, how the evolution of technology and ideas transforms society. Uh, it's a very basic, or I guess you could say a vague topic, but I've chosen to sort of narrow it down to the modern shift right now that's happening in sociology, which is happening in society, which is basically the shift from a centralized way of governance and media control and democracy to a decentralized, nonlinear form of society, basically. And this is finally possible. We've been talking about democracy for ages, but we've always had to have the middleman, whether it's a representative government, representative religion, representative media. I mean, we need media industries, we need media media everything. We had journalism. Is its own pillar of society. All of these things have had to have separate entities throughout history, perhaps except in very early societies and in pre-civilizational lifestyles, I guess you could say, when things are small enough to not have them. But as societies get big, they need centralization and ways to order things. Unfortunately, people have always abused these, I guess you could say, responsibilities, because the people give the governance the responsibility. So there's always been this power struggle between the general public and their representatives. And it wasn't always seen as representatives. In ancient times, it was seen as, kings had the rightful heir to the throne to order and control the masses. And it was seen as probably one of the only ways to work. But one of the things that helped change that early on, as an early example, is the advent of the printing press. Now, shortly after the advent of the printing press, you see major civilizational changes in the West, including primarily the emergence of Protestantism, which politically and religiously transformed the landscape of Europe. It took away the power of the church, of the Catholic Church, and said, we don't need their representation. We can be our own priests. Because why? Well, because knowledge and information was no longer centralized. It was no longer controlled by the vast libraries of the Vatican and monasteries, where there used to be the only places you could really learn. So began a exodus, I guess you could say, of knowledge that began to disperse amongst everybody. And the printing press enabled everybody to have a Bible, the Gutenberg Bible. And shortly after, Protestantism, Calvinism, and more democratic ideologies, such as, the Enlightenment, and also the Renaissance age. These are things that all began to bubble up, after the effect of the printing press. I'm not saying the printing press is the only thing that helped, but it was a major, significant contribution to the evolution of Western society. Now, Eastern society is going to require a little bit more studying because they've had different focuses, so to speak. But overall, in modern society, we're experiencing our own version of the printing press, and it's had, I guess you could say, an evolution of media. It began mostly with, better forms of the printing press, more industrialization, telephones, radio, television, and now the internet. Primarily and mostly the internet is the big thing. What the internet's doing is what the printing press did. It decentralized knowledge. It dispersed it across everybody. And basically, it allows the general public to access information at the click of a button, or even easier than that. So it's sort of decentralized all knowledge, and it's sort of going through a period where this sort of new way of thinking and interacting with everybody is is no longer we no longer need some things anymore, such as um, journalism. Journalism is beginning to dwindle, and I'm not saying it's dying yet, but it certainly is on its way down. Um, Blogging is now the new craze, but it's been like that for a few years, but it's really taking off, and it's really influencing mass media, whether it's video blogging like this or you know, visual like textual blogging. So that's one form, and then there's the whole form of file sharing and internet sharing and creative commons and open source movements. These are all new ways of thinking because of new types of technology that enable people really to be decentralized social beings. Perhaps that perhaps we've always been this way. We just haven't had the technology to enable it. So that's another one of my another thesis that I have. We are inherently decentralized, almost community tribal-like beings. We don't like hierarchy, but we use it because it's been the only means really up until recently, where we finally are able to decentralize not only just our books, but the rest of society as well. So we're beginning to see new technologies that bring the problem, as Clay Sharkey, a writer about this, says, bring the problem to the people. So in other words, we're actually bringing down the issues and dispersing them amongst us. We're actually able to kind of take problems and solve them ourselves. We can self-publish, self-produce. We can create things on our own and share them, and information is free and totally accessible. And not only that, we're able now to vote on this information and do what we want with it. And we can upvote and downvote and create content and show what content's good and what's not. Suddenly there's a lot more democratization happening. And it's only beginning to really influence society through media. But it's slowly turning and churning into a greater powerhouse. So we're having this greater democratization in which people are getting the power, and institutions are fading from, I guess you could say, from usefulness. We have a new technology now that allows decentralized and democratized power more than ever before in history, and the institutions are falling in favor of collaboration and decentralized networking, which is the very structure of the internet. It demands and requires that for it to work. So this is my thesis in a nutshell, and this is sort of what I've been studying and going to basically, focus on in my major. But yeah, if you want to make a response video, please feel free to chime in and add something, make a comment. I'd appreciate it. Thanks for listening.